This is The Wire for 2300 Zulu, September 1st, 2025. Precedence is routine. Information cutoff is 2200. Bottom line up front. Earthquake strikes Afghanistan. Blackout reported in Venezuela. Vehicle ramming attack conducted at Russian consulate in Australia. Protests continue in Chicago during Labor Day crime wave. Beginning with international events. In Germany, a 16-year-old Ukrainian refugee was murdered over the weekend after an illegal immigrant from Iraq pushed her in front of a train in Friedland. The migrant was not arrested at the scene, but after DNA evidence was gathered, authorities arrested and placed him in a psychiatric facility where he awaits a decision on whether or not he will be charged for the murder. Analysts comment. This case is important as local media immediately tried to paint this story as the girl taking her own life. However, local authorities have confirmed that this is not the case. At the moment, it's hard to independently confirm, but some sources claim that the victim was also speaking on the phone with her grandfather at the time of the attack, and remarked that a group of migrants were following her before the call was cut short. If this detail is true, this could be what triggered the investigation in the first place, as there are no security cameras at the train station where she was murdered. In Afghanistan, this morning an earthquake with an estimated magnitude of 6.0 struck near the border with Pakistan. Hundreds of casualties have been reported, with the hardest hit regions being the eastern districts of Kunar and Nangarhar. In Venezuela, over the weekend, large-scale blackouts were reported throughout Caracas and several outlying cities. Separately, the tensions between the United States and Venezuela continue, as both sides remain at a heightened state of military readiness throughout the region. Analysts comment. As the U.S. Navy continues power projection operations in the area, many have been quick to link the blackouts in Venezuela with the American ships parked off the coast. However, this incident is probably more related to Venezuela's crippled electrical infrastructure rather than any intervention by the United States. The United States is certainly not above sabotage in Venezuela, so it's certainly possible. However, Venezuela has been rationing electricity for many years now, which has included the implementation of unplanned and unannounced rolling blackouts. The history indicates that if the U.S. were to bomb or sabotage electrical substations in Venezuela, it's doubtful that anyone would notice anything out of the ordinary. In Australia, yesterday a vehicle ramming attack was carried out at the Russian consulate in Sydney. One unidentified man drove his vehicle up to the entry control point, or ECP, for the facility, and after being approached by security personnel, proceeded to ram his vehicle into the gates. The man was arrested at the scene, and one security guard was injured by broken glass while attempting to extract the man from the vehicle. No further details have been provided regarding the motivation for the attack. On the home front in Illinois, throughout Chicago, several anti-Trump demonstrations were held over the weekend, which mostly took the form of opposing the recent anti-crime initiatives posed by the White House. Separately, a few dozen shootings were reported throughout the city over the weekend, which has included approximately 8 murders. In Texas, an 8-year-old was shot in Houston after taking part in a growing trend around the United States. The child was shot after allegedly engaging in a game of ding-dong ditch, which prompted the homeowner to engage the suspects, killing one of them. Analyst comments for this wire. As with every event these days, many media sources leave out critical context. For instance, the recent rise of ding-dong ditch pranks around the United States aren't really pranks, but rather a deception operation intended to conceal a felony. A very common tactic that is being utilized by young adults around the country is to ring the doorbell of a home, and when no one answers, proceeding to kick the door in to conduct a home invasion. In some cases, this prank also involves groups of people simply omitting the doorbell altogether and attempting to make forced entry into the home. If caught during the act, the youths can merely state it was a prank and thus face less accountability for their actions, or so the minimally applied logic goes. This is an attempt to bring a felony into the realm of a childhood game so as to generate sympathy for the criminals and to taint potential jury pools. Regarding the case in Houston, all of the publicly available information so far indicates this was the door-kicking felony version of the prank. As such, it's crucial to remember for both the threat itself and the potential reaction to it. Home invasions will continue to rise, and there's now a good chance that the criminals will already have a pre-built criminal defense plan that is more airtight than in years past. The Houston Police Department has already stated that this is not a case of self-defense due to the homeowner following the suspects to engage them, so the homeowner in this case will 100% be prosecuted regardless of what actually happened. The court of public opinion completely lacks nuance most of the time, and this is always reflected in the jury box. Home invasions are a very pertinent risk in many cities around the country, and now that criminals are engaging in more planning efforts to ensure the public's initial reaction is that they are innocent, similar efforts must be undertaken by homeowners to justify their own self-defense. This concludes The Wire for 2300 Zulu, September 1st, 2025.